Today's conversation is an interesting one because it's about connecting emotionally with our kids. And one of the complaints that we have had over and over and over is that, what's up? How do I even connect with these children? And we'll just be looking at briefly what the challenges are, acknowledging those, and then hopefully breaking it down for us in age appropriate formats of connecting with each and every one of these children. Because I don't know who's represented in the call right now, but I will assume that we have children across all ages, including genders, like boys and girls across all ages. And so I'll try and actually look at age 0 to 18. Because now after 18, we have left. Yes, we can still emotionally connect with our young adult children, but I think the better place to do it is to lay the foundation here. I like borrowing from somebody called Reggie Joyner and Christian Ivy, who wrote a very good document and compiled a document into a book and called it "It's Just a Phase." And maybe that's where I should start from, for us to understand that whatever it is that you're going through, it's just a phase. But just a phase does not mean that we are minimizing it. It means that it's something that is coming from somewhere and headed to somewhere else. So today's conversations, when it comes to connecting emotionally with our children, don't worry about where you're coming from. Be more concerned with where you're going. And so where we are at the moment, whether you're emotionally connected with your kid or not, whether you want to connect better with them or not, I don't think that's possible, but wherever you are right now is what we're going to do as a point of reference, not necessarily where you've come from. And then, of course, we plan as to where we are going to go. So when we look at parenting and the challenge we have when it comes to building an emotional connection with our children, we have two conflicting things that are happening to us as the parents. The first one is responsibilities. As a parent, you have lots of responsibilities that you need to take care of, lots of responsibilities that you need to achieve, meet, etc., for your children and for yourself, and for the family at large. Because again, this emotional connection does not just happen. Our jobs don't just affect us, they affect the extended family, right? So your responsibilities are also extending to those extended families. Then there is relationships. So the other big thing, on one side you have responsibilities, on the other side you have relationships. This is specifically to today's conversation about connection. Relationships are what we need to be building with our children. We'll not be able to connect with them emotionally unless we are building a relationship. So knowing that that is what it is, let's now see what's happening with our children. So for us, we have responsibilities versus relationships. And we have the push and pull, because both require time and they often work against each other. Our children, on the other hand, the things they will remember post 18 years, the things they will remember is the love that they saw at home and the time that they spent with the parents. The love they saw at home and the time that they spent with the parents. Those are the things that they remember. Now, allow me to say this right now because of recognizing that we are representing different family setups. I did not say that children will remember that their parents were together. So that if you're a single parent, you're parenting solo, you are in a divorce situation or separation, we're not talking about children will remember that their parents were together. That's not the major thing that they will remember. They will remember the love that they were shown, regardless of what was going on within the family. They will remember the time spent with the parents, regardless of what their family setup was like. So responsibilities versus relationships need to acknowledge that that's what the children will remember. Now, this is what responsibilities bring with them. The more responsibilities we have, the more of this we are going to experience, right? The first one is fatigue. You have more responsibilities, more fatigue. What happens is you want to rest, and children are not necessarily the best people to rest with. Children are tiring. Children end up being another responsibility. Children end up being, quote unquote, a burden. Not in a bad way, but they are a burden. Another thing to think about. So when you are fatigued as a result of your responsibilities, it becomes difficult to develop a healthy relationship with your children. The second thing that happens with responsibilities is frustration. You're basically frustrated, maybe tired, angry, irritated, annoyed, whatever the word may be, with people at work. And unfortunately, because of the work environment and the fact that your salary depends on it, you know, pay grade and all those other things, you may not be able to express that frustration at work. Now, when you're not able to express that at work, unfortunately, it sometimes finds its way home. So you find yourself taking it out on your children and therefore disconnecting with them when it comes to the emotional connection that you have. So there again is responsibilities bring about frustration and affecting the relationship. The other thing that responsibilities bring is time away. We are just saying that children remember the time spent with the parents, but your responsibilities are taking you away from them for a long period of time. It could be hours, it could be days, it could be nights, it could be weeks, but work is taking us away from them, the very people that we want to build a relationship with and spend time with. The last thing I want to highlight, and this is not exhaustive, this is just to help us get a foundation for what we're going to talk about today. The next thing that responsibilities brings is the need for speed. You know, hurry up and eat, hurry up and get ready, hurry up, we need to go to church, put on your shoes, you know. So you find that instead of building a relationship with your children, you're instructing after instructing after instructing, with the summary being hurry up. Now, that is us as parents and our responsibilities. Trying to fit everything into the little time that we have with children who want us to spend time with them. So now imagine you're a child. Let's first take an opportunity or some time to sit in the feet of a child. A child comes to you, you're exhausted. It's been a long day or a long week or a long month, whatever it might be. You have all the fatigue. But at that moment in time, the child is probably what? 5, 6 years old? And the question they're asking is, do I have your attention? Do I have your attention? A child does not directly ask, do I have your attention? What they do is bother you a little bit or ask you a question that you're thinking is random and unnecessary. How you respond will inform them as to whether they matter to you or not, right? So imagine you're a kid, you're going to talk to somebody and they're not even paying that attention to you. That's a bit tricky. What does a child learn? To disconnect. Because one of the best ways of protecting ourselves emotionally, not best because it's a good thing, but best because it's easier. When we want to protect ourselves emotionally, we disconnect. Because if you try and keep connecting to somebody emotionally who has no time for you, you will feel pain. So the disconnection we are seeing from our children is to protect themselves, right? If you're frustrated and taking it out on the kid, imagine yourself having somebody take out their frustrations on you. Again, you will step away. You will disconnect. The same thing with spending time, the same thing with being hurried over and over and over. There was a child I was really good friends with when I was more active in Sunday school. And this kid would come with me in the morning to church as opposed to going with his parents. One time when we had a conversation with the mom, and she was asking me, what do you give my son? Because it looks like it could be something that I'm giving him in the car. And the only difference between me and the parents was that I had time to listen to him, right? When he got into my car and we were driving to church, I would be asking him about the blisters he has on his hands. I would be asking him about how the week has been, because, you know, we'd meet on Sundays. I'd ask him stuff about his life, the clothes he's wearing, you know, just little things like that. On the other hand, because of the dynamics at home, the mom would lecture him about getting the brother ready, stopping to make noise, eating breakfast quickly, getting into the car. What have you forgotten? There were so many lectures that he was exhausted. by the questions that he's getting. So getting into my car was a relief. And therefore, we were ending up looking more emotionally connected than he was with his parents. But that's really what it takes, is managing those things and being cognizant of that. So now I don't want us to dwell on the problem. I wanted us to lay that as the foundation, because the question then is, which I'm sure we came for, is what do we do? What do we do in order to build this emotional connection with our children? I want to start by saying we enter their world. Get into their space. Now, what does this look like? What does getting into their space look like? Number one is play, right? If I look at playing, and let's say you have a 9 to 10-year-old. 9 to 10-year-olds are asking their relational questions. So what I'll be doing is going into the relational questions that children ask. A 9 to 10-year-old is asking, do I have friends? So when you want to play with a 9 or 10-year-old, what you do is play at the level of friendship. That's not the time to correct them. That's not the time to beat them all the time, because you might be better than them at the game that you choose to play, but you don't have to beat them all the time. And I don't mean just let them win, is give them a fair chance where you try and develop a friendship with them. Now, what do friends do with each other? Real, genuine friends, not the manipulative kind. They connect without necessarily correcting each other, right? They accept each other's stories. They ask, what do you want me to do for you? How would you like me to help? You know, they don't just give instructions. If you imagine a friendship, many times the friendships we have are not necessarily always with people who know better than we do. So they're people that we connect with at, you know, different kinds of capacities. But what the friendship does, it gives you a listening ear. And that's what our children need for us at the age of 9 to 10. At the age of 3, they're looking more for affirmation. They're looking for a way of managing their self-control, managing how they do life. That's what they're looking for. So play for them would be letting them win. So let a 3-year-old win, but compete a little bit with a 9 and 10 as you're being friendly, right? When you're playing with, let me see, I'm picking a 16-year-old. A 16-year-old's relational question is, how can I matter? What can I do to matter? So when you're playing with a 16-year-old, you can project it into their life, right? You can show them, this is how you make sense to me. This is what you bring to this game. This is what I appreciate about you. So we are playing differently with different people. Now, here's the thing about playing with children. Sometimes it's going to be messy. Sometimes it's going to be noisy. And sometimes it's going to be silly. So this is not the time you start telling your child to behave like a grown-up. Okay, I'm a playful person. For those of you who've met me in person, you realize I'm a very playful person. Now, what do I like about play? It's, if you allow it, it breaks down barriers, totally breaks down barriers that you may have between people. And silliness is one of the best things to include in play. And it doesn't matter the age. You're never too old to laugh. You're never too old to have fun, right? You're never too old to be silly. So in the world of play, entering their world when it comes to playing, expect to be messy. You can always clean up. Expect noise. So prepare for it and expect some silliness, right? The other thing that you do when you're entering their world is to ask them deep questions. Have you ever seen children talking to each other and somebody is looking sad? They always go and ask, especially the younger ones, why are you sad? Why are you crying? What are children able to do at that age that we don't do? They're able to recognize the emotions that somebody else is going through, their friends are going through. Now, asking deep questions means asking about the things that make them worry, right? A 2-year-old may not be able to answer that question about, are you worried? But you can see, because the relational question they're asking is, am I able? So you can see their worry when they hesitate to do some things, when they hesitate to jump, when they hesitate to, walk, when they hesitate to do something. You can see they're sort of worried about something. They don't have the vocabulary, but you can tell. When somebody 12 to 13 is asking, who am I? Their worry is around identity, right? They're trying to discover their uniqueness. They're trying to ask, like, who am I? Outside of all of these people, separately from my brothers and sisters, who am I? Who am I to you? When you're sensitive to that relational question of theirs and you're wondering what they're worried about, you'll be able to tell, right? The other questions that we ask, deep questions, include things like, okay, so worries is related, but not exactly the same as fears. Because worry is a bit, I'm trying, I'm unsure, it has some uncertainty. Fear almost draws somebody back, stops somebody from trying. What are you afraid of? An 18-year-old is at the point, now they have finished their childhood. You're looking to connect with an 18-year-old emotionally. The relational question they're asking is, what am I doing? And so when you want to ask a deep question to an 18-year-old, center around the things that they're doing in life. Are they choosing the right college? Are they choosing the right course? Have they made the right decisions? Will they pass their exam if they haven't done it? Those are the things that you try to have a conversation with them. That's the level at which you will connect, right? When it comes to an 11-year-old and they're asking the question, who do I like? This is where now identity is setting in. This is where now they're probably getting access to their phones and they have other things that people are doing online. And they're asking, who do I like? When you're talking to them about their fears, get into fears of being liked versus being hated. Friendships break up majorly around this age, and it's painful. This child is looking for stability. Are you able to be that emotionally stable person for them? Right? Are you able to get there and talk about those fears? Deep questions is not just about worries and fears. It's about their dreams. Their dreams. I know as parents, we have this thing of we dream that our children will be, whatever it is that you dreamt your child will be. Fill in the gap. However, are those their dreams? Now, if a child tells you, when I grow up, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a TikToker, those are new careers today. Those are not careers that many of us grew up with. When they tell you that that's who they want to be, ask them, what will they be doing? Help them understand that, okay, fine, I want to be an influencer. What will I be doing? How will I influence? Don't tell them that influencer is not a job. It is a valid form of income generation. But the question to ask is, what will you be doing? A 15-year-old's relational question is, why should I believe? A 14-year-old is asking, where do I belong? So let's say the 14-year-old who's asking, where do I belong, wants to be an influencer. That's their dream. How do you then, as a parent, connect with them and get them to the place that they're influencing for good? They're still going to influence, but they're influencing for good. The emotional connection helps you get to the place where you can tie that for your child, right? So that you appreciate what their dreams are, and then appreciate that they're asking, where do I belong? And you connect at that level. Other thing to get into, deep questions. What are your joys? What makes you excited? What makes you happy? I grew up, I don't know about who's on the call, but I grew up with parents who, when they had us laughing, they would actually stop us from laughing. Because there was this crazy African belief that if you hear children laughing, somebody's about to cry. I don't know how that makes sense, but somehow it seemed that that's what would happen. We would be very excited. We are laughing, laughing, laughing. Then something happens and you hear somebody crying, right? But if we ask our children what are their joys, what brings them joy, what makes them happy, two things happen. Number one, you end up not looking like somebody who's just interested in correcting them. If you're asking that question, generally you're showing interest. But secondly, you get to see where their heart is. And there's nothing as beautiful as a kid who's been understood by their parents when it comes to things that make them happy, right? Because parenting, being what parenting is, remember I've said we have responsibilities. You might be thinking your child's job is not to enjoy life. There's an exam to be had. So what are they laughing about? You know, that could be the approach you're taking. But when you appreciate, acknowledge, and validate your child's joy, that's an easy entry into their heart. And it makes it that much easier for them to come and tell you about their sadness. Because one of the deep questions you ask is also, what makes you sad? Now, please remember that you're not asking these questions like an interview. I'm going to cover them in under an hour, but that's not how you do it with your children. You do it life on life, day on day, right? So if you are able to enjoy their joys, to celebrate their joys without judgment and without inflating them such that it looks like the only thing you want to do is keep them happy, then what you can do is also ask them, what makes you sad? I'm hoping that you guys have watched Inside Out. Inside Out, especially the first one. It's one of the movies that I recommend parents to actually watch to understand children's emotions. It's one of the few movies that I have seen that actually handle emotions very, very well and nicely and simply. And one of the best moments of that movie is where sadness was given value. Those of you who have watched, I don't know what your best part was. For me, one of the best parts when it comes to managing emotions and children was when sadness got a voice, when sadness was allowed to be. Because many times we think that connecting with our children emotionally is all fun and games. It includes being there for them when they're sad, right? So ask them about what makes them sad. Another very important question is what they need from you. We go for parenting classes. We have an agenda as parents. We have been told by the Bible, by schools, by whatever you listen to. We have been told what your children need. Have we asked the children themselves? Have we actually gone and asked our children, what do you need from me? Because that's the expert. Now, there's a risk of asking and you hear about lollipops, PS, iPhones, material things, right? Those are things that they can get for themselves. So one of the things to talk about when a kid comes and tells you, like now, let's say you ask, let me give an age. Which one haven't I talked about? Maybe you can even look at a 12, 13-year-old who's asking, who am I? And you ask them, what do you need from me? And they tell you an iPhone. Go ahead and tell them you can do, the movie is called Inside Out. It's an animation, Inside Out. So they tell you they want an iPhone, and the relational question is, who am I? The thing to ask them is whether they would rather you buy them the iPhone or show them how to get an iPhone anytime they want. Do you get the difference between that? Would you rather I get you an iPhone, or would you rather I show you how to get an iPhone anytime you want? Because if you get them an iPhone and it gets lost, that's it. I mean, you're probably going to say you're careless, therefore I will not get you another phone. You'll have to buy one with your own money. But imagine if instead you started having a conversation about finances with your children, about how to sell the lemonade, about what's unique about them, what's that thing about them that they can actually, to a great extent commercialize. What value do they add to this life that they can get paid for, such that the question will not be, Mommy, get me an iPhone, or Dad, get me an iPhone. It will be, I have worked and bought myself an iPhone. Now you can see what the difference in that works, that does. It gives them a sense of self-efficacy. It gives them the knowledge and the affirmation that they can actually do this for themselves, right? And of course, connects you better. Now, the other thing it does, back to emotional connection that can last a lifetime. You become the sage, the wise person in their life who can actually help them navigate the things that they need without even knowing that they need them, right? So all that is what entering their world looks like. Play with them. Expect the messy, noisy, and silly things that they're doing. Ask them these deep questions. Right across from the good stuff that they're feeling to the bad stuff that they're feeling. And ask them what they need from you so that you can give them the support that is relevant to them. Then here is something that parents don't do in the children's world. They don't apologize. If ever you make a mistake or you do wrong by them, apologize, right? It actually doesn't hurt to say sorry. If anything, it helps the connection better. It doesn't take away from you at all. Your children will never ever reduce your status as a parent. You will always be their parent. So apologizing does not take anything away from you. Apologize as and when is necessary, right? So I hope that gives you an overview of one of the things to do to connect with them emotionally. The second thing to do, all that, by the way, that I've talked about is about entering their world. And their world is that big, right? So the second thing to do is to unplug from distractions. That's so important for me to say now. Because, like it or not, grown-ups are probably a whole lot more addicted to their phones than children are. It's just that grown-ups are also doing substantial things on the phone, right? So you answer emails all the time. You get onto calls all the time. You're sending this and the other all the time. You're shopping all the time. You're doing something with an app all the time. So we are very, very distracted, right? Now, how do you then show them the attention that they need? When you unplug from these distractions, give them eye contact. Now, it has been said that when you're doing things with boys, you do it side by side. And when doing things with girls, you do it face to face, right? But you can still do eye contact when you're doing side to side. So it's much easier to do face to face with girls, right? And you do the eye contact thing. But if who you have is a son and you're trying to connect to your son, eye contact means that every so often you're going to look at them, even turning your face to look at them and look at them straight in the eye. And it can be especially when they're saying something deep, something important, something painful, you know, back to those deep things. When they're cracking a joke, look at them in the eye. You know, there's some things that children will say and you think, oh my gosh, this is so ridiculous. When my son was young, I think he was about 9, he came to me and then he had just learned the word mamacita. So he comes and he has heard it somewhere. So he comes to me and he's, you know, as cheeky as a 9-year-old boy can be. And he goes, hi, mamacita. And then for me, I just laugh and I say hi. And then he corrects himself and he goes, oh my gosh, you're not mamacita, you're mamambili. I mean, that was so silly. I laughed that I wrote it down. Now, if I had told him, keep quiet, whatever, you know, all of those things, it would have broken the connection. But let me tell you, I looked at him, shook my head as I was staring at him straight in the face, and told him, oh my gosh, you're so silly. Then laughed about it, but I was looking at him straight in the eye. And immediately he goes back to his business, I go back to mine. We are next to each other. But the connection was made, right? It's 20 years later and we still joke about mamambili versus mamacita, right? Because it was a moment, okay? So maintaining eye contact does not mean staring your child down. It means glancing at them deep in the eye in the moments that matter. The other thing that you do when you unplug from distractions is listen with your eyes. How do you listen with your eyes, you might ask? You listen to what they're saying and to what they're not saying. Listen with your eyes. Just look. Are they fidgeting? Are they mumbling? Are they scratching something? What are they doing? Listen with your eyes. As they're saying the words that they're saying, look at them. Glance at what they're doing, right? Listen with your hands. Unplugging with distractions means listening with everything you've got. How do you listen with your hands? Listening with your hands is giving them a hug when they need to be hugged. It's giving them a high five When they have done something excellent, done something so ridiculous, done something that requires a high five, give them a high five, right? That's listening with your hands, because you're showing them, I hear you, right? You don't just tell them, I hear you, you're showing them that I hear you. That's listening with your hands. Now, of course, listening with your ears is what we know, what they're actually saying. Then there's listening with the heart. Guys, when you listen with your heart, you listen to the feeling that is being expressed, right? You listen to the feelings underneath. When a child comes and tells you, I don't want to go to school tomorrow, then you ask them why, and they say they have a cold or their stomach is paining. What exactly are they telling you? When you listen with your heart, one of the things that you might hear is that they're afraid of something happening in school. One of the things you might hear is that they're angry or they feel like they don't belong, right? They're wondering what to do. They're 17, they're asking, what will I do? Looking forward. Everybody in school is ready for prom. Everybody in school is sure about the college they will be going to. And they still have a year to go. And then they're wondering, what will I do? They start developing stomach aches, right? Everybody in school is getting attention except them. They'll get a stomach ache because at 5 or 6, they're wondering, do I have your attention? Because these emotional connection questions, they don't just ask that of their parents, they ask that of the people around them, right? So a 5 and 6-year-old is asking, do I have your attention? 3 and 4 is asking, am I okay, right? The 11-year-old, who do I like? If they are going to school and they don't like anybody and nobody likes them back, they're going to develop headaches. They're going to lose things. They're going to do anything they can to move away from that unpleasant space. When you listen with your heart, you get to hear the thing that they're feeling, right? So that's how you listen. Unplug so that you can listen, right? Third thing that you're going to do with your children, you plan for them, you plan with them. Plan for them and plan with them. Responsibilities versus relationships. There are jobs that will not allow you to be there the way you'd love to be there. But when you plan for them, what that means is that in this busy job that's going to take you away from them, you can sit with them and say, hey, can I have your schedule first so that I put it in my calendar before work takes over? That is planning for them. And that is also, to an extent, planning with them. When you ask for their schedule, you're putting them as an important thing. Now, planning with them includes having them make decisions about stuff, make decisions about holidays, make decisions about meals, make decisions about who you're going to socialize with, where you're going to go. I have found that some families, because they believe that their children need to have fun, they're always looking for something to do. Yani, like Saturday, okay, maybe you're working, there's many other things happening, market day or whatever, but Sunday you're still looking for things to go and do. Planning with your children means sometimes listening in and hearing. They don't feel like going anywhere. They want to sit home and play. Or they want to sit home and watch a movie with you guys. Or they want to sit home and do nothing, right? Because they're also very busy in their school days, right? So planning with them, that's what it takes. Now, it will take you saying no to some demands of your time. There's a trip that you might have to give up because of something that your child needed you for. You will need some of those, right? Say no. So start getting comfortable with refusing to say some things, yeah? Then the other thing about planning with them is asking them what is important for them. When we connect with our children this way, by the way, parenting becomes very easy because they participate in the process. When we do it the other way around, when we're the ones trying to make all the decisions about what connection looks like, we have equal measure of hits and misses, right? And we also develop a laissez-faire kind of attitude in our children where they actually do, wait, just wait to decide. We'll go out because dad has decided we're going for lunch. Not because they want to go for lunch, but because dad is the one who decides. We'll do this because we'll go to our grandma's because mom has said that we'll go to our grandma's. So they don't want to go to their grandma's, but you have decided for them. You haven't asked them what's important. And maybe it is something like going ziplining with them only as a family. No cousins, no relatives, no neighbors, just you as a family. Ask them what's important for them, right? Many people come and say, us guys, we are so tight as a family, we do this together all the time. If I ask the child, on the other hand, to give their report of the same thing, they say, us guys never do anything as a family because we are with people all the time. So understand that connecting with them would include asking what's important for you, what really, really matters, right? So now, once I say these things, let me just sort of like, kind of like summarize the stages in which they are, right? Now, from 0 to about 4 years old, that's where they're asking, am I safe? Am I able? Am I okay? Everything is very internal. It's about them. Because they're being motivated by safety, embrace their physical needs. Embrace their physical needs as much as you possibly can. Help them develop confidence, establish trust with them. They know that if they fall, you will catch them. I'm talking about the babies, right? Help them cultivate self-control. They don't have to throw tantrums. They can learn how to ask nicely. They can learn how to express disappointment. That's what you're teaching them at that point in time. They have physical needs. Connect with them at that level, right? They are creators. The way their mind is working is like they're artists, So engage with them at that level. It will be different. As they grow older, or when you have the older children, between 5 and 10, here are some of the questions they're asking. A 5 and 6-year-old is asking, do I have your attention? A 7 and 8 is asking, do I have what it takes? They're asking, am I good enough? Am I competent? 9 and 10 is asking, do I have friends? So the connection around there is where you help them improve their abilities. One of my favorites is to cook with a 5 and 6-year-old. To cook with them, to do handiwork with them. Because they're asking themselves, first and foremost, it requires you to have their attention because they're asking, do I have your attention? But they're trying to improve their abilities. They're getting to the place where now they're becoming little grown-ups and they're feeling, I can do this, right? They're much more able to do stuff. Then as they're growing older, they're increasing their competence. They're getting more and more competent in several things. After that, they're developing friendships, where now they're sort of like looking at the permanence of friendships. They're losing some, yes, right? So at that stage in time, everything seems to be around fun. That's where they say, oh, but it's not fun. Oh, it's boring. So do you what? Engage their interests. You will connect with them emotionally when you engage their interests at that point in time, right? Now, they're getting older, or you may have a child in a different age group, 11 to about 14, just before 14. These are the pre-teens into just the beginning of teens. That's where they first have their first identity crisis, if I may call it, the first identity hurdle that they need to jump. So they're asking themselves, who do I like? Remember, they have developed friendships when they're 9, 10. At 11, they're asking, who do I like? That's where you start having conversations about character. So connecting with them emotionally is not telling them, I don't like your friends. It's asking them, what do you like about your friends? What do you like about your friends? So they start telling you, oh, this one gives people things. This one is very mean. This one says they like my hair. This one brings for me things. You start looking at the characters that they're falling for because they're shaping. Now they're starting to farm up their identity. They're looking for stability, right? So this is very personal. So connecting with them emotionally, that 11 to 13-year-old, connecting with them emotionally, this is crunch time. For those who work in Sunday school, you know about the 4 to 14 window. This is where that window is closing, the time that you have to actually connect with your child. So when they're asking, who do I like? And they're asking, who am I? Looking for their uniqueness, affirm their personal journey. Because at this stage, they're being motivated by acceptance, right? They want you to accept them as they are. This is not where you compare them. This is where you actually affirm their uniqueness. So language like, me, I'm just making you grow up. That's why I'm asking you. I'm telling you should be like your brother. Don't say that to them. That's how to disconnect this child, because they're looking for their own uniqueness. Then it comes to this last stage now, which is usually messed up by the fact that in this, our country, and in many other countries, we take our children to boarding school at this time. From 14, when they get into high school, it becomes harder to connect with them emotionally. But guess what? You still can. Yes, the time is reduced. Previously, it was your time that wasn't enough for them. Now, if your children are in boarding school, you're seeing them 3 months a year. That is a drastic change from the previous time that you may have had with them. But what's happening to them now? This is a second identity hurdle or identity crisis path that they get into, right? The 14-year-old is asking, where do I belong? Where do I belong? Why should I believe? So that's when you'll find the 15-year-old is asking, why should I believe? So that's where you find the 14-year-old goes into school, comes back with different hairstyle, they cut their skirts or they do something with their trousers, whatever it might be. They're looking for that clique to actually belong to as they are now grown up. The boys have most likely gotten circumcised and they've been told, now you're a man. The girl has probably started her period by now, may have started earlier, but now they're getting into boarding school. Your message for them cannot be that now you're old enough to be a father or you're old enough to be a dad, don't have sex. No, that will not connect with them emotionally. The emotional connection will be back to those questions we were talking about. What are you afraid of now that you're getting into high school? What are you looking forward to? How can I help? What do you need from me as you get into this journey? Those are the kind of conversations to have with them. Because what you're doing at that point, please note the word mobilize. You're mobilizing their potential. They have potential, but you want you as the parent to be the one mobilizing it, not their peers, not the people out there that they will be meeting. You want you as the parent to be the one mobilizing their potential. The 16-year-old is asking, how can I matter? The 17-year-old is asking, what will I do? And the 18-year-old is asking, what am I doing? At that point in time, connect with them by sorting out those things. Show them about the value in community. Help them clarify their values. Help them refine their skills. Because by now they know things. Don't leave them and tell them now you're grown up. Right? Help them refine those skills. Help them create a vision. When a kid is wondering, what will I do? Help them create a vision of what they would like to do. And then, of course, when they are getting to the part where they're asking, what am I doing? Help them with discernment. This thing that I'm picking, is it the right thing for me? Is it the kind of thing that I can transfer? The transferable skills we talk about. Is it the kind of thing that will help me move to a different industry? Or am I locking myself in? Those are the conversations to have with them. Because at that point in time, they're being motivated by freedom, but they're still not ready to snap or cut off that last cord from you. We cut the physical umbilical cord when they're being born. We cut the next umbilical cord when they're going out into the world. Much as they're motivated by freedom, they're saying, you never let me go. Those are the fights that they normally have. They say, you're too possessive. You're too this or the other. They're being motivated by freedom. Help them get into that freedom space safely, right? By, again, having those questions that we talked about. Playing with them, asking the questions, apologizing where you need to apologize. And if you apply a lot of these things, little by little, you will get to the place where you find yourself emotionally connected with them. Now, there are times when, like now, especially when you have two parents in a family, you will find one feeling as though they don't connect emotionally with the other. I mean, sorry, emotionally the same as the other parent. This usually happens, and it's usually father against mother, right? So a father may see as though the children are connecting emotionally with the mom. If you dig a little bit deeper, you'll find that she's probably asking questions that you may, as the father, not be too emotional for. There are places where the mother is looking and she's seeing, gosh, her children are connecting emotionally with the dad more than they're connecting with her. A lot of the time, and again, I'm generalizing, you'll find that the dad is able to play, right? The mom is too serious. The dad can take things easy. So the kids find that they're connecting better with the dad. But what we're trying to say is, to establish and build a deep emotional connection, we need a little bit of both. We need to try out all of these things and do it with them. Listen with our whole selves, engage with them by entering their world fully, right? A time is coming, like where people like me have reached right now, where there are no children to actually hang around and do all of these things with. But when you have built a good emotional connection with them, you end up, instead of having an empty nest, and this is me pushing my agenda, instead of having an empty nest, you end up having a helipad. Because your children can come and land, do whatever they need to do, and then take off. Your home becomes that safe space for them as much as possible. That's the thing I'm passionate about, just making sure that families can create spaces that this will happen. Because we know and we have seen, when we have this stability in homes, then life outside of home becomes even better. And of course, society improves. Things are so much better when people have that emotional connection with each other, right? Great. Pastor Olunga, I'd like to stop there.
Thank you so much. Shalom, I wanted to ask you, how can anyone wanting to access you, to access some of the work you do, reach you? Do you have a website, a social media handle, or anything you can share with us?
Let me put that there, the link tree.
Yeah.
Then now all the handles are there.
Yeah, Linktree /Shalom Munyiri. All the handles are there. You can access and connect with Shalom for more of this. Thank you so much. We appreciate Shalom your time. Very insightful conversation tonight, and we are grateful for your friendship, but so much more for your generosity to just share your heart with us and with parents. May the Lord bless you, and may the Lord bless everyone for joining. Have a good night. God bless you.
Asante and good night.
Good night.